Today we are going to be working on spreading the paint on the four birds. So what you're going to need is a small piece of paper towel to dab your water on. You're going to need your paintbrush and a little container of water, and I only have about this much water in the water cup here. Your brush, you're also going to use your brush here, and we're going to make sure that we're only using the very tip of your brush. So your brush may not look exactly like mine, but you should have a tip on the very end of it. So basically, what we're going to do is wet the brush. So put your brush in the cup and then tap off the excess water and then tap the paper towel 4 or 5 times, to get that excess water off, because we do not need a great deal of water. So I'm going to start with my upside down bird here. I'm going to turn him right side up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch the color and then spread it with the point of my brush. So I'm going to touch the color and then spread towards the empty space with my brush. And just it's really, really small. So if you have extremely small birds, you're probably going to have a hard time doing this. So I'm just pushing the paint towards the center where there's white space. And as I do that, you can see a development of value coloring. So I'm going to come here and wet this side as well. Notice I didn't stick my brush back into the water. It's still wet enough to do this. So I'm pulling the paint down, and then I'm going to come down here and wet this area. I still did not re-wet my brush. There's no need to. It should be moist enough. And I'm pulling the color down towards the center where there's no color to fill it in. And now we see this really nice value coloring happening. Now I'm going to rinse my brush. So I'm going to swirl it around a couple of times to get that excess color out. Tap a few times. Now I'm going to do the orange. And so I'm touching the orange to moisten it up, and then I'm going to pull it towards each other to fill in the blank area. Now the toes, you barely touch them and swirl your brush just a tad, and that should fill up your toes. You want to be really careful with that because it's such a small space. So now I'm going to turn my picture around, and I'm going to start on these birds here. I'm going to rinse out my brush because I have orange on it, and then tap off to the side and get rid of the excess. And now I'm going to come in and do the same with my pink. Just touching and moving. I got a little bit in the eye. Just be real careful. I'm just using the very tip of my brush. Just now I'm pushing upward to spread that paint. I'm not scrubbing back and forth. That will end up tearing the paper. Now I'm rinsing out that pink, and I'm going to work with the orange. And I'm going to work with the orange here. Since it's still wet, my brush is still wet. Just barely touching those toes. All right, I'm going to rinse out, and now I'm going to go with the green. Once again, I'm just using the very tip of my brush. I'm not pushing my brush down all the way. A lot of painting techniques revolve around you learning how to use a brush. Okay, I'm going to wet this one down here. Now, if your paint is not spreading enough and it's not dark enough, then you did not add enough paint. And I made a boo-boo right there, and there's nothing I could do. And I could come back in and paint blue all around for the sky, but we're not going to do that for this assignment. Okay, so I'm wetting. And just being careful using the tip of the brush. And then wetting down here and then pulling up. Oh, look how nice that looks. Yours is going to look nice too. Okay, so once you have finished your big-eyed bird painting, the first thing you're going to do is take a picture of it in the assignment and turn it in, and then place your painting on the drying rack so that it can dry. And that's it for today.